a great voice. I was wondering how you, like when you write a script like this, do you give it to friends and they like, how do you go about doing that with something that's so unique?
Yeah, I do. I count a lot on people reading it. Everyone involved in making it reads it. So certainly at the point where there's producers and money involved, I'm always, and so far I've been lucky to always work with people who had good ideas and good feedback. And then friends, yeah, I mean, a lot of people in this room read it and gave me notes, and I've kind of learned to love notes. You know, it took me a while, but I began to realize, like, this is gold, and you don't even have to tell anyone that that wasn't your idea, you know? Like, I mean, it's just part of the process, you know? Yeah, so it's, but there's not tons of people. I mean, it's a very, I think me and the other, like, filmmakers that I know feel very, like, desperate for each other's help, because it's not that easy to find people who you trust enough to, like, kind of let go of your, you know, the tight grip you've had on a scene and be like, okay, yeah, maybe I'm, you know, missing something. Yes. Like, what type of answer? Like, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was one of the first images of the movie to me, and you know, I've been broken up with, and you know, when I wrote that, I was really relating to him in that moment, and I remember I was, for a long time, the only way I could describe the feeling was, I would say this again and again, it's like hot and cold ears, like your ears are hot and cold, and this person's talking to you, and you're just, and it was really pretty ineffective. Like, no one knew what I meant when I said hot and cold ears. Like, and the more I said it, the more I realized, like, I'm gonna have to do better than this for the movie. And I mean, how's the actor even supposed to show that their ears are hot and then cold, you know? And yeah, and so, I mean, that's the great thing. You know, I also write fiction, and I love metaphor, and that is very much the type of metaphor that I would have, that I would take very far. The idea, maybe a whole couple pages devoted to that someone stopped time in a moment, and you know it's not happening, but you really get the feeling. But in a movie, there's no like. It's not like, it was like this. It's just, here's all I'm showing you. So you don't even have to, all I care about is the feeling. So just accept this, because this is what it felt like for him. And I am, you know, I also do have a, like, kind of sci-fi interest, so it's not only a metaphor. I mean, you have no idea the scenes I shot involving, like, other things that could happen when time stops. Like, what if an orange falls and then it stops in midair? And that was hard to shoot, because the orange was turning, and I was like, like, and then we cut the scene after all that. Yeah, so some of it was also just a nerdy interest in what that would be like. Yeah. Yes.
Over the years, becomes ever more impressed with how you're able to work so deeply in different disciplines. And I was wondering if you could share with us anything you've learned as you've evolved with it as an artist about managing your creative workflow, so that you work between all these different communities and what that's like for your career.
Right. Well, my diary, which once used to be so thoughtful in my teenage years, is now just to-do lists. I'm like, well, this is, why do I even save these? I mean, they're just lists. And I think there's, like, endless prioritizing, and sometimes it's not just the sort of clerical prioritizing, but really trying to stop for a second and ask myself, like, okay, right, of course you need to do these things, but what do you really care about today, right now? Like, just pretend for a second that that matters, you know? And really doing like the work of thinking of that. And even if I can't do anything with that, like the exercise of like, you know, because you have so many voices going, oh, but, you know, it's the distractions are like really addictive and kind of fun and sort of engaging, you know. And so like constantly stripping down before you get too far on something that really wasn't what you wanted to do just because it has momentum. So this is like a very specific answer, and I can't believe I'm even saying this. Maybe it doesn't make any sense at all, but that's the kind of thing that I'm always catching myself on, especially because it could, you know, I apparently like doing all these different things, and there is that side of myself that like sees someone play basketball and I'm like, oh my God, I could do that. You know, that I feel it in my body right now. I think I might be great at that. You know, like it's that voice in my head is useful to a point, you know. So I'm always trying to, yeah, okay. Right, I was always planning to be in it. I mean, this was my way into this whole filmmaking thing. I mean, the first short movie I ever made, I played a 12-year-old Olympic swimmer and her mom. And I don't know why that seemed normal. I think it seemed normal to me at first because why would anyone else want to be in this, you know? Like, it wasn't that no one knew who you know, it was like, that would be a big favor to ask, you know, like, which was reasonable at that, you know, I was 20. But, so from my point of view, like my great achievement is that I'm not playing all the other parts, you know? Like, that's what makes it a real movie. And in fact, when I didn't plan on playing the voice of the cat, and I remember really thinking like, well, I can't do that because then that makes it, like, people don't do that in real movies, they just play one part, you know, unless it's like Eddie Murphy and that, I don't, this isn't like that. So, yeah, that's where I'm coming from. It's a pretty non-filmy place, in truth, even though I, you know, was making short movies for so long, it was coming from myself for the most part, yeah. Yes?
What are some of the challenges you face as an actress working on your own material?
Right, well, I've almost never done anyone else's material, so that's probably a lot harder, I would think. I mean, yes, it's hard doing the like acting, directing thing, kind of just logistically. It's on a 21-day shoot. There's just not a lot of time to like check back and look at the take. And, but I, of course, know exactly how I want it to be. I don't have to spend time trying to get in touch with the material or figure out how to say it, you know. Sometimes I try and do that, you know, I think I need to do that, and I'll take a moment and I'll be like, what does this really mean? You know, and then I'll be like, what? You don't do that. That's silly. That's a waste of time. But the challenges, well, I'd say the challenges are mostly not having a director. You know, I think I'd be way better, actually, if there was someone helping me. Yeah, I think that's probably the hardest part, is there's no one seeing something and seeing what it could be or something. You know, I'm pretty much focused on the other actor. If I'm in a scene with someone, I'm watching them, and my part's kind of perfunctory. Like, I tried to focus on it a little more for this movie because it's a lot bigger part, but in the end, there's only so much you can do when you're yourself as the director, yeah.
I'm curious about your influences in general, and also specifically, do you feel your influences by animation?
Oh, I did take an animation class. I dropped out of college and moved to Portland from UC Santa Cruz, and I was sort of trying to convince my parents that I was still kind of in school, so maybe they should still give me some money. So I enrolled in this animation class at the local film center, and yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I left to go on tour with my band midway through the class. I still remember the teacher's name, Rose Bond. I'll just throw it out there because I forget so many things, but there that is. Just pull me off with a hook when it's time. I have no idea here. Influences, that's my worst question ever of all of these questions. It's so stressful for me. Not that I'm not hugely impressed by people, but I'm not much of a scholar, and so. Oh right, you're right. Okay, let me think of it that way. Oh yeah, right. Of course, it doesn't. Yeah, just like friends and life and whatever, I was interviewing some people in the rush line of the tickets, I interviewed you about what her hope for her future was and what her fear was, and there was I just got 10 very true stories right before the movie, and I was, the woman, maybe she's here, whose hope for her future was that she would get to teach special ed. Are you in here? She may not have made it in. Oh, you did, great. That'd be so sad if I was telling this story. And then I thought it was so beautiful that your fear for your future was that you wouldn't like it. And that just seems so honest to me. Such a great and beautiful hope and such an honest fear, See, I'm so easily influenced. Okay. You already asked me. That's very good. There, yes.
Can you explain more about the recent, you just had Jason doing a job about with planting trees and with helping the earth?
I know. Why did I do that? And I even did research. I went and planted with tree people. Remember that? Gosh. That was a question to my husband up there. Remember that? I think it was, well, I'm going to call on you because you have glasses. Okay. Okay.
When you were hiding around the corner from the stairwell, you spoke to him without looking at him. Did you do the cat voice?
No. What a terrible question to end on. Do I need to remake the movie now? I admit, I know what you mean though. It is kind of scratchy there, and that is probably the dangerous part of playing both roles. Should we just have a show of hands of how many people thought that so I can sleep tonight? Oh, you all thought that it was the cat voice? Or the opposite of that? Opposite. Okay, my best friend says the opposite. I'm just gonna stick with that forever. Okay. All right, thank you so much for coming. Have a good night.